Alright y'all, I'm gonna open this video up with a really big sigh, because this is the time for me to go out there and embarrass myself. To kick off today's show here on this Saturday, we are opening up the entire conversation with the 2023 Stanley Cup Playoffs. I'm gonna be here filling out my bracket challenge and hopefully trying to get some of these picks correct. It never works out that way, so believe me, I am going to look like a fool by the time the playoffs are said and done and people go out there and rewatch this video. But today, as I had said, I wanted to go out there and fill out the bracket as we had done last year and just go over some of my picks, what I feel, I'm going to go out there and just kind of lay it out on the line here. I'm not the smartest guy out there. I just kind of know what I know and I see what I see, so when I feel things, I try to rationalize it with some sort of comprehensive thought. It doesn't normally come out like that, but these picks are just mostly gonna be how I feel. And I knocked over the pop filter, so that's my bad. Either way, we have ourselves a whole bunch of matchups here to go over. Colorado, Seattle, Dallas, Minnesota, Vegas, Winnipeg, Edmonton, LA in the West, and then in the East we have ourselves Boston, Florida, Toronto, Tampa, Carolina Islanders, and then the Devils versus the Rangers. Let's go out there. Actually, is it fitting all on the screen there? Let's move that a little bit further down. There we go, so everything fits properly. Let's start things out with the first series here, Colorado versus Seattle. It's very nice that they displayed the points over here. 94 points for Colorado versus the Seattle Kraken, who had 90. The Kraken actually had more goals per game. However, the Colorado Avalanche had a better goals against per game number. They also had a better power play and penalty kill percentage, and you had yourselves more points out of guys like Mikko Rantanen, who went out there and actually, why does it say Rantanen's the leading scorer? I mean, Nathan MacKinnon had 100 points. What is it talking about here? I misspelled Colorado pretty badly there. Let's look at the stats here. Nathan MacKinnon had 111 points, Mikko Rantanen had 105. Oh, I guess it's talking about goal score, which is why Rantanen is listed over here. But either way, the Seattle Kraken have been a really interesting team this season, mostly because even though you don't have guys that are at the 100-point mark, like the McKinnons and the Rantanens, you have a whole bunch of guys spread out that the depth is honestly pretty insane. You've got the 8th overall guy on this team in points, Jaden Schwartz, with 40 points, and 9th and 10th, Burakovsky and Wenberg, each were 2 away from 40 as well. This is a deep team that knows what they're good at, they know what kind of identity they want to have out there on the ice, and for a Colorado Avalanche team that is missing Gabriel Landeskog, he was announced earlier in the week to being out for the whole playoffs with an injury, it's gonna make this series super tight, and a lot more questionable as to whether or not the Avalanche are going to be able to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. For that, because of the uncertainty, because Landeskog is going to be out, and because I feel like Seattle is just a legit team, I'm going to go out there and say Seattle in 7, baby. And I don't like that I'm saying that because I'm a Canucks fan, but either way, I said that this video is going to be ridiculous and I'm going to be making a fool out of myself, but either way, watch as the Colorado Avalanche repeat without Gabriel Landeskog in the lineup, and this entire video is gone down the drain. We have ourselves the next matchup, though, the Central Division 2 versus 3 matchup here, the Stars versus the Wild. You have yourselves the Wild, who outscored the Stars in points. However, the Stars severely outscored Minnesota in goals per game. Minnesota barely had a better goals against per game. Oh, snap. Something went wrong while displaying the webpage. Oh, boy, that is not good. I'm going to have to enter this all over again. All right. All right. That's okay. We can just choose Seattle like we had done before. But the Dallas Stars actually had a slightly worse goals against. Now, you could definitely chalk that up to the Minnesota Wild goaltending tandem. Marc-Andre Fleury was pretty alright this season, but the really big fish that was in net for Minnesota this year was that goalie they acquired from the Ottawa Senators in that trade. Where is goaltenders? We want to see goalies. No, we're not able to see goalies. Okay. Either way, Philip Gustafson is his name. I was not able to pull up the numbers right here because for some reason it doesn't show up. Oh, here, goalies. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for right there. As we had said, save percentage, he was one of the best ones in the entire season so far. If we go over to Minnesota and we see here, Filip Gustavsson had a .931 save percentage and a, where's the goals against? 210 goals against average. So he was crazy good this season. Definitely in favor for the Wild when it comes to the goaltending matchup because Ottinger is good, but the guy had not as high of a save percentage as Gustavsson had with the Wild. Let's go out there and actually look at that. What's Ottinger's numbers like this season? .919 save percentage and a .237, so definitely not as good, but still very good. This is a very good goaltending matchup that we're going to see for these two teams. But if I had to go out there and choose one, I feel like Dallas has it this year, man. Jason Robertson, 100-point guy, just a crazy point producer. You have everybody else on that team, like Roope Hintz still doing his thing. Of course, Pavelski's going to be there, Jamie Benn as well. Minnesota, no disrespect to these guys, y'all got dollar Bill Kirill and he's been fantastic, but I feel like Dallas is going to edge this one out. Heading over onto the Pacific Division, Vegas versus Winnipeg. Now I'm going to go out there and just choose Vegas right away because the Winnipeg Jets, sure, they've been hot. They really needed to get hot to force themselves into that wild card conversation. But every statistic favors the Vegas Golden Knights. They're the better team. I think they're the deeper team. I think they're the team that shows up more often than Winnipeg does. Based off of the amount of times I've been watching a Peg City hockey video this year, just going on a rant about the Jets being inconsistent, I feel like Vegas has it in them to go out there and compete, win this series, let's say in 5 or 6. I don't really think the Winnipeg Jets are going to have a chance in this one, which is going to be funny because when they do inevitably win, I look like a fool because it always happens. Either way, final matchup here. Edmonton versus LA. I gotta go with my boy Conor McJesus right here, baby. I feel like the matchup from last year was very fun, it was very engaging, very entertaining, but McDavid and Draisaitl are on a whole nother level this season. 3 100-point scores, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is there too. I feel like Edmonton has this entire run of theirs to lose. So if we gotta go out there and predict the games, I'm gonna say Seattle in 6, honestly. Let's go out there and say 6 just because Landeskog being out. I feel like that contributes a good amount to what this Colorado team is going to be able to do, especially against a Seattle team that really just has such a strong identity. Let's say Vegas in 5, Dallas in 6, and then I'm going to go out there and say Edmonton in 5 as well. I'm really boring with these picks, but I'm going to go out there and lay these as our picks right here. Let's head over onto the East. Boston, Florida. I gotta go Boston, man. The Boston Bruins were the best team this NHL has ever had. Period. Regular season team in terms of points, in terms of records, in terms of wins. This was the best team of all time, pretty much. So anything less than a Stanley Cup Finals appearance is gonna be a disappointment. The Florida Panthers, I get it. Mateychuk is really good. But this team is not the same team that was first overall in the NHL last year. They're just not. They barely squeaked into the postseason this season, and I mean, look, Boston is going to win it. I'm going to say they're going to win it in 4. Next up, Toronto versus Tampa. This is the rematch that everybody was waiting for. It was the match that we had kind of had loaded up there in the longest amount of time. Like, this was set like 2 weeks ago, I feel like. So Toronto versus Tampa last season, Toronto actually played a series where I felt like they could have won. They just ended up losing because they lost the luck of the draw pretty much. This wasn't a classic Toronto choke. This was just Toronto not winning at the very end. At the end of the day though, Toronto, I feel like they added so much, and Tampa, I don't want to see this team make the finals again. Don't make it 4 in a row. Let's go out there and have Toronto, and we're going to say 7 games too. Just to lock that in there, because Toronto, you can't go out there and predict Toronto in 6 or 5. You gotta say 7. It's always 7. Meanwhile, the Islanders and the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes were a much better team than the Islanders in every statistical category, and it's not even really close. But if one thing's going to go out there and tell me how the Islanders are going to perform, it's that Matthew Barzal is apparently coming back. And when you think about how, oh boy, it crashed again. That's not great. That is not great. Please, NHL.com, don't do this to me. I got to go out there and fill it all again. But when it comes to the addition of Matthew Barzal to a team that already was able to claw their way into the postseason with Bo Horvat at their disposal. I feel like this is going to be the time that New York really shows up and defies the odds. Hey, Lou Lamoriello's getting old. Hey, we lost in the third round all those times in a row. That's fine, because we're going to go out there and force our way again over a Carolina team that's not expecting it. I really do feel like the Islanders are going to take this one, and it's going to be close. But I don't know, that's just my gut feeling. I know I said at the beginning of the video that none of these picks are going to be rational, and it's just going to be gut feeling, but that's kind of how I see it here. As with the next series, you know, I love the Devils, I love Jack Hughes, I love Luke Hughes, I love everything they've done, but the Rangers have Tarasenko, the Rangers have Kane, and I feel like it's going to be good enough for them to go out there and take this series in 7 games. Let's say Toronto in 7, Boston in 4, and let's say New York in 6, just to make things interesting there. So, this is what we have for our second round matchups: Seattle versus Dallas, Boston, Toronto, New York, and Vegas, Edmonton. Let's start out in the top left here, Seattle versus Dallas. You know, I really like Dallas. I do. I really like Dallas, but I'm going to go out there and say upset. Let's go Seattle, because this team just kind of has an extra gear that I think we're yet to seeing. No explanation needed, no explanation to be given either. I just kind of feel that way. I'm going to fill out Seattle. I feel like they can probably pull out a win against Dallas in a 7-game series. It's all going to depend on goaltending. Dallas could easily win this one as well. I think this series is probably going to go to 7 games. Vegas versus Edmonton. You know what? I want to see Edmonton take this, and mostly because I feel like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are coming into this entire postseason run with a chip on their shoulder. They weren't able to get it done last year. They got embarrassed in the conference finals last year, 4-0 sweep at the hands of the Avalanche. And these guys are going to do everything in their power to make sure that does not happen again. They're going to overpower Vegas. They're going to win it in 6. Meanwhile, you got Boston versus Toronto. I'm sorry, Toronto, but it's going to be Boston. This team is just way too gosh darn good, and ignoring everything else with the context and the history, I'm going to go out there and say Boston. I'm not going to open up the scorecards and everything just in case the website crashes again. I'm just going to leave it like this, so I apologize if this is kind of imperative to anybody watching. But Boston over Toronto, I feel like the Boston Bruins are just way too good. They're going to waltz their way to the finals this year, and they're going to beat a New York Rangers team in the 3rd round to get there. And if we do this, let's say Edmonton-Boston is going to be the finals right here. Connor McDavid, man. I feel like if there's anybody that's going to be able to take down anybody, it's Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, they have themselves the opportunity here to make history happen. For Boston, New York, I feel like the Bruins just have no reason to lose at any point in this playoff run unless it is against Connor McDavid. This is going to be the year, folks. This is going to be it. I'm going to go out there and say Connor McJesus is getting it done, and he's going to shut up all the haters this season in the postseason. Tiebreaker, total goals scored in the final series. Let's say Edmonton beats Boston in 6, and averaging it out, okay, I could see a few 5-goal games there, honestly. Like, I know Ullmark and Swayman have been very good, but if there's anybody that's going to be able to produce a whole bunch of goals, it's going to be Edmonton. So let's go out there and say 37. I've read and agreed to the terms of service. I'm going to leave it like this just so you can see it one more time. This is me filling out my bracket and my predictions for the 2023 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Y'all are going to laugh at me in the comments. Y'all are going to call my reasonings as to why everything is going down the way it is wrong. And that's okay. I want you to let me know in the comments your opinions, your thoughts, and your matchups, what you think is important, what do you think needs to be focused on heading into the 2023 Stanley Cup Playoffs, and who do you think is ultimately going to win? Are you kind of on the same page as I am? Well, do you see some sort of an Edmonton-Boston final, or do you see somebody else making it out? Do you think the Hurricanes are going to make the finals and not lose to the Islanders in the first round like I had it? And okay, it ended up crashing on me either way. Oh, that is not good. Let's reload everything and just try to do it all over again. You can pretend that I just said the outro, and we'll just say bye after that, but let's go Seattle. We did Dallas, we did Vegas, and we did Edmonton. We'll do 6... 6, 5, and 5. There we go. Oh, we did not click 6. Okay, there we go. And then we'll do Seattle, Edmonton, Edmonton. Over here, we'll go Boston. We'll go Toronto. We'll go Islanders. We'll go Rangers. What did I say here? 7, 7. I said 4, and then I said 6. That's what it was, yeah. And then we went with Boston. We went with the Rangers. We went with Boston, and we said 37. I'm going to submit this here just so it doesn't crash on me again. Or not 27, no, 37, excuse me. I'm going to have the Oilers winning the cup over here. Let's submit the bracket. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying here, folks. I'm going to piss a lot of people off with this video, aren't I? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.